Hello, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin Debate Live, where I listen to my dog bark and argue with people about politics on TikTok Live. I do have my producer in the room, so if she gets a little too excited, she'll be able to go for a walk. Say hi, Jessie.
Hey, guys.
There's a pinned comment that'll tell you when the first call will start if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, and more complicated timestamps, all the various calls and stuff in the description. Noodle, what is going on? This is how we're starting the show today. I think you gotta take her. We gotta hit the ground running. You gotta sit in the hall there. We're working on the dog situation. She has figured out that her being noisy during the show gets her attention, so rocking and rolling. Might need to get a dog sitter for the show going forward. Anyway, I am gonna get my backup account in the corner of the screen, and we are gonna start this show because I already have a caller. So Global Warmth, if you'll just hang out for a second while I do a couple other pieces of housekeeping. Other things, the delay. I am aware of the video delay that people are experiencing. I upgraded my camera and it's nicer, but it has a longer delay. I'm working on getting that fixed. It will be fixed in the post version of the show, but we have not figured out a solution to get it fixed. What is God doing? She's losing her fucking mind. See, okay, my dog is hyper intelligent. I think she has figured out the moment that she goes live, if she barks her head off, she will immediately get attention because we have to deal with it because of the live production environment. Anyway, my dog's hyper intelligent, and I've been dealing with that for years. She's pretty good with me when she's alone. But anyway, my producer is a friend who's known me for like a year, so she's actually pretty good with my dog. But I do think I need a dog sitter for the show going forward because it's getting out of hand with having a producer in the room. Anyway, I'm going to request to join from my backup account, Oskar Quentin Music. If you're not following on that, you should get following on that after I mute it, so I can fucking hear myself. All right, what else today? I have not paid too much attention to the Todd Blanche confirmation hearing. Given the makeup of Congress, I don't expect him to run into any trouble, but we'll maybe get an update on that from the Discord. In other news, I can't breathe. Where's my inhaler? We have a haze situation, and I have really terrible asthma, so forgive me for potentially wheezing and coughing my way through the show today because I cannot breathe in Minnesota. I'm looking out the window, and the sky's not the color it's supposed to be. Yay, forest fires. They are evacuating the boundary waters, which is really sad. I've been in the boundary waters when they get like local evacuations for fires. And it's like scary, but like at the same time, forest fires happen. They're not like the most, it's not necessarily signs of end times if there's a forest fire, but they are happening in places they're not supposed to. They are bigger than they're supposed to be. They are happening at times of years where they're not supposed to happen. All that global warming stuff where people can say, oh, well, forest fires have been happening forever. And it's like, well, maybe there's data about how much forest fires are supposed to happen. I can see in the YouTube chat, people are talking about how terrible the smoke is in Minnesota. I was like, I didn't notice it yesterday, and I like left somewhere at like close to midnight, and I like couldn't see down the block. And I was like, oh no, I have to get home in this. Oh, save me, Uber air filters. Garrett sent me $50 on Venmo to start the show. Just with the rock and roll emoji. I don't know. Maybe he feels bad that my dog is disturbing the show. We made it so long without her figuring out that while I sit in this chair and do the show, it's a great time for her to be disruptive because she'll get attention. Took like 150 live streams for it to happen. Linktree in the bio if you want to support, but we're going to get right into it with Ty Bond, and we're going to see if we get a debate right away. That's what I'd prefer. How old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
You support Trump?
I'm hung on the fence.
Okay. Tell me some of your thoughts.
There's a ton of things. Well, okay. No, might as well drop me. I don't support him.
Please don't, guys. Like, there's this thing that people sometimes try to do, which I see it happen on Dean's Live a lot, and I kind of like relate to how he has to deal with it, which is that somebody calls in and they say, oh, I'm on the fence, or I'm a Trump supporter, and then the host gives a few reasons, and they go, oh wow, that's really interesting. I've never really thought about it like that. I guess I shouldn't be a Trump supporter. And then everybody cheers, and then they leave, and I'm looking at it thinking, no, I think this is a fan who wanted to give the host a W. I think that I think it's a shitty thing to do. Like, straightforwardly, don't call into people's lives and pretend to be a Trump supporter and then like give a performance of somebody having their mind changed. First of all, we can tell. We do this for a living. We sit and do this for hours a day. It just doesn't, like, I'm speaking for Dean here, which I shouldn't do because I've just made the guy's acquaintance. But like, when I see it happen on his show, and it does happen quite a lot on his show, he kind of has this like Okay, great. Thank you very much. Because he doesn't want to tell the person they're a liar. He doesn't want to change somebody's mind and then say, you're lying. I don't think I actually changed your mind. Because there's going to be like a 20, 30% of the thousands of people watching who look at that and are like, Dean is being mean to somebody whose mind was just changed. When the rest of us are kind of sitting here just like, no, dude, like this is devil's advocate trolling. It just doesn't help. It's, you know, it's dishonest. And what we're trying to do here is solve a dishonesty problem in the country. So we're not going to solve it with dishonesty. I'm not interested in that tactic. And again, furthermore, even if I was just such a grifter that it's like, oh, let's get some hired actors on the line so we can have some really interesting calls that like really convince people that I'm good at convincing people of not supporting Trump. Even if I were so dishonest, I just think it doesn't work. Like an argument that works on an actor isn't an argument that's going to work on a real person. And when people have their minds changed by listening to a conversation that somebody else has, it fucking helps if it's a real conversation. And I just think people see through it. And it's frustrating that it gets a lot of airtime. 678.Shetty left the request queue the moment I said their name. So goodbye. Still just me. We're dealing with trolling in general in the space, and I was gonna buy a new iPhone this week, but I had to kick it a week because I had an expense for the show. I had a unexpected fucking Adobe suite has had enough with my editors using my license, so I had to give them their software ransom so we could keep working. So I'll buy the new phone next week, but the new phone is gonna make it so we can take phone calls instead of just going through TikTok live, because I am going to do it in a slightly roundabout way. Such that there's like a real protection of my account getting banned by something that somebody says through the phone line. I've talked about it on the air. It's complicated. But yeah, I'm interested in how the flavor of the show might change when that happens. I'm really interested in just getting like a new cohort of callers, especially because it happens in the Instagram comments a lot where people will say like, oh, I would smoke you if I was on your show. Let me in there. And then it's like, oh, just TikTok live, dude, like 10 to 12. And they're like, oh, I don't use TikTok. And it's like, all right, so either make a burner account, use somebody else's account, or fuck off. Cause like, that's how we do it. That's where the technology exists. I hate it too. I had to download TikTok just to like get in here. I get it. That's fine. But I do believe that a lot of people just are that principled and not wanting to download TikTok, because that was me for so long, until I like bit the bullet and decided to give this a try. So I just want some of those people who are confident that they would smoke me to get in here, because I feel like that's everybody. Like people ask me, why do people call in? Why do people call into your show? It doesn't go well for anybody. Rarely does it go well. Sometimes there's like a more friendly conversation or like a more like nuanced debate where like I'm not as not as like when, the vegetarian debate, like I'm kind of on the fence about being a vegetarian. So it's more just a conversation than a debate because I'm not super convicted on it. Neo-libertarian phalangist, I'm just going to, you're not getting into your request queue. Like, no, I'm just not interested in that fucking troll. That username is not going to get you on my show. Kevin sent, what did he say? Watch the horror show. These guys are screwed. To watch Taco's sadness. Oh, are you talking about Blanche? Let me know. Anna Caniac sent me $2. Busy working, so I won't be active. Have a good show. Appreciate you. Let's see. We got Sell Fortnite. That doesn't look like a serious username either, but we're going to give it a go. If they connect. They just showed up in the queue, so they should connect. Hello. Nope, they disconnected. We'll say hello to Iowa Golfer. We can have a mildly friendly conversation, or maybe one of our debate calls. When Iowa Golfer joins, it's always a little bit of a mystery whether he's just saying hey or if we're going to disagree about something. How you doing, Iowa?
Not too bad. So I got a question for you. I've been thinking about this one.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the fence of the SAVE Act would disenfranchise millions of Americans.
Yeah.
Okay. So during C-19, I did not get... there's a horrible echo somewhere.
Oh. That should be better.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that was my bad.
No, you're good. During C-19, they handed out those vaccine cards or whatever they were.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get one. I wasn't vaccinated. But I wasn't allowed to go do certain things because I didn't have that vaccine card. Was I disenfranchised from not having that card?
Yeah. But the thing that the issue here is that we have to weigh the value of disenfranchisement, because my issue with the SAVE Act is that if there was rampant voter fraud, if there were tens of thousands of cases in different counties, or like hundreds of thousands of cases in different states, or like millions across the country, I'd be like, oh my God, this is an emergency. Like, our elections are being taken control of by people who are fraudulently voting. Then I could look at a nuclear solution like the SAVE Act and be like, oh my God, is this worth it? Maybe we need, I would still argue we need to make it free to get your paperwork in line. We need to make it easier. We need to hire people to process the applications quickly with like, I'd still have the same concerns, but I'd be able to say that this amount of disenfranchisement of potentially people who don't have their paperwork in order to get voter registration is not necessarily too great an evil to fix the problem of voter fraud. As a matter of fact, the voter fraud issue is so small that I think that such a claim is ridiculous. But in COVID-19, yeah, you get, I don't know if disenfranchised is necessarily the right exact word for all the certain things, but yeah, you get your freedoms taken away. You get some of the normal rights and liberties that you have taken away because an emergency is happening. And I can say that the benefit is great enough for you to maybe have some inconvenience in your life if it protects people. That was a huge, if we consider voter fraud really bad, I would say that getting sick with COVID is really bad. And which of those things were there more cases of?
I would probably say there are more COVID cases.
By a lot. By like...
probably. By
like a factor of 10,000 or 100,000, something... Like, by an enormous number. It was a much bigger problem that affected everybody.
Yeah. But so do you think it's acceptable that, like, my freedom of religion and freedom to assemble and stuff like that was taken away? Do you think that's right?
I do, yeah, unfortunately. Like, I recognize that that's a serious thing to do. You're
not completely against taking away rights sometimes.
I mean, the government has to take away rights to grant other people rights. That's how the government works. Like, the libertarians are on this bent about how you're not allowed to take away anybody's rights and therefore you can't have rules. But I take away your right to put your foot as hard down to the pedal as you want when we make a speed limit, right? Do you have bodily autonomy over your foot to put the gas pedal down to speed in the car?
Like constitutional rights, like embedded in like the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and stuff like that. Like, my right to freedom and my freedom to assemble is embedded in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. And that was taken away from me during C-19.
Yeah, but it would also be taken away from you if the church was on fire. Like the police officer. It's different. I always use the example of a fire because, like, we could have I'm dealing with some haze outside today. There are wildfires happening up in the Boundary Waters that are making it really hard to breathe where I live, and that's a bummer. Like I'd like to be able to breathe freely. Like, but there's a thing happening. The reason I use fires is because you say that's completely different. How is a fire different than a pandemic in terms of an emergency happening that might result in local orders from police or whoever to make that might take your rights away to protect the public? You might they might evacuate a city if there's a forest fire. Yeah. That takes away the religious freedom of everybody who practiced in that city, everybody whose church was in that city. How is it different?
So going into a fire is incompatible with life. Mm-hmm. I think. Would you agree with that? It's completely incompatible with life. Okay,
so you're making it all or nothing.
Going to an area where you might get sick, maybe, is not incompatible with life.
Right, but you might be evacuated from an area that may or may not burn, or may just have really bad air quality or something like that. It's not necessarily life or death. They don't only evacuate people who are going to die. They just say this area is not as safe. We're going to evacuate it, or the air quality is really bad. Maybe we're going to say not have schools open today, or whatever they might do if a situation is really serious. So the exact things that we do are maybe different, but the fact of the matter is that the government says, okay, there's a very dangerous thing happening. Normally people have the right to do whatever they want. We're going to take that right away to protect people. It's the same thing whether you're evacuating a city because of a fire that's coming over the mountain, or whether we make some rules about how you conduct yourself because there's a pandemic that's sweeping through the population and killing people.
Right.
I think the big difference, and I don't feel like I've talked to you about this before, but I
concede on that one then.
Yeah. I think that the way I talk about it a lot is like I use 9/11.
You struck gold, Oskar. Don't keep digging. You struck gold. Don't keep digging. You struck oil.
Okay, fine. I'll take the.
You don't need to change my mind more.
Okay. It's just a topic I like because I think it's interesting that people think it's so different when it's a big scary fire, because COVID's invisible.
So now I got it. Now I got another one for you. We beat around the bush on this one a lot.
Okay.
Last time I called in, got a lot of hate for it, but that's fine. Roe v. Wade. We're going to go back into this rabbit hole, and I hope I don't explode, but I don't think I will. I just have a simple question.
I hope my chat's nicer to you than last time.
Yep. So you believe women should have the right to choose for whatever reason? So back in the 70s, they believe. Back in the 70s or the 80s, I believe scientists believed for a little bit that they had isolated the gay gene in a person. Say in the future we find out, because being gay isn't a choice, obviously. I mean, it's something you're born as. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
If they find the gay gene and they are able to isolate that and find out whether your unborn child is going to be gay or not, do you think that that would be acceptable reason to abort a baby?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're gay.
See, ethically, I would say no. Legally, I don't have a good answer because I think that that's something that we as a society are going to have to contend with soon. I think that doctors are going to start telling people more about their babies before they're born, and that gets into a eugenics discussion, which is really fucking hairy ethically. I think a lot of us are ill-equipped to come up with sensible answers quickly when it comes to those sorts of questions because I'm perfectly willing.
What is eugenics to you?
Well, so eugenics is just intentionally changing what the gene pool is in the future, however you do that. There are really obviously horrible ways to do that by like gathering up people who have attributes that you don't like and say killing them or, you know, cutting off their testicles or whatever you want to do to get them out of the gene pool. Like that's obviously bad, but here's an example where it's obviously good. People who share congenital disorders that are like really, really bad and affect their lives really, really seriously, like might meet somebody who has the same disorder and think, okay, you know, our lives are kind of similar in this way. We have the same accommodations in our home. This is nice. Maybe this, look at that. I found somebody I love in this community. I went to a convention for this disorder that I have. If it's the sort of disorder that if two people have it, the likelihood of their child having it is really high, I am perfectly comfortable saying it is inadvisable for such people to have biological children. That's going to be offensive to a ton of people. But that
so
is
when
that
you
is
say that, do you think are you saying it's ill-advised or they should not procreate?
Well, this is the same distinction we had earlier. Do I think it should be illegal for them to procreate? I think that gets really fucking hairy. So I'm really reticent to make like actual laws. But I would say, ethically, I think it's not sensible. I think you need to dive on the grenade of like having the personal sacrifice of not being able to raise a family if you're going to propagate this thing that makes people's lives difficult. But that's also eugenics. It's just not as terrible eugenics as like rounding up people who have a disorder and like manually deleting them from the gene pool. That's, you know, genocide is a tool of eugenics, but eugenics, like you perform some degree of eugenics when you just meet a person and decide that you want to have a kid with them, and they think, oh, I want to meet a healthy person and live a happy life and all that. Like we all pick up. I mean, I don't. I got a vasectomy, but people who want to have children pick a person that they want to have children with, and whatever decision making goes into that is to some degree you performing eugenics on what your next generation is going to be. So eugenics is a very broad term.
So didn't you say though, or didn't you just say though earlier that eugenics is picking out a certain thing that you don't want in?
That's one way to accomplish eugenics.
Society?
Broadly, the way I define it.
So would you agree that aborting a child because they have Down syndrome is broadly eugenics?
Yeah, that's another example I was about to bring up because that's also something I think is reasonable. If you know early enough that the child's going to have some really catastrophic disorder before they're able to suffer, before all those things I care about when it comes to saving the child, yeah, try again, right?
Yeah. But so that's what I was asking is you would consider that eugenics then?
It is technically
broadly or not.
Yeah.
Broadly or not, it's eugenics. Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you being honest about that. There's so many people that will be like, no, that's different. That's different. Like, no, it's not. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, and there's people calling me ableist in the chat or whatever, but like,
what is
I don't
an ableist?
Ableist is somebody like racist is against the races. Ableist is against people who have disabilities. Which, like, this is a controversial topic, and I talk about controversial stuff. I'm willing to have my own fans mad at me. I'm willing
I don't know how I get called an ableist. I'm trying to save.
I think I'm getting called an ableist.
People. Oh, I'm trying to save people with disabilities.
No. I think that one was for me.
Okay. Hey, I am going to be right here. I got to pause for 30 seconds. So if you got any donos, I got to pause.
Well, I'll take a moment to do the ad read, which is that there's a link tree in my bio where you can go follow me on all the other platforms for free. Doesn't cost a dime, but it helps me out a lot, especially if you follow this backup account that's down here below Iowa Golfer. I switch back and forth between Oskar Quentin 2 in the corner and Oskar Quentin Music in the corner. That just makes it so that if I catch a ban on this account for saying something silly, I'll still be able to run the show. Though, there are enough people watching over on YouTube. What do we got right now? 200 people watching on YouTube at 20 minutes into the show. It usually creeps above 300 these days. We're getting healthy enough over there that the show could run just just on YouTube with phone calls, which I wouldn't need the extra phone to do. I could do that immediately if I'm not on TikTok, because the whole concern is not getting banned on TikTok by having a caller say something dumb on my show. Anyway, all that stuff. Follow all the other accounts so that if there are bans or if things change, you can find where the Oskar Quentin show is happening, in what form, all that stuff. Doesn't cost a dime, but if you have a dime you want to spare, you can send it to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. Buy Me a Coffee is international, so if you don't live in the United States and you want to support, that's a way to do it. People have done that, so I'll read some donations while we wait for Iowa Golfer to come back. David, frequent donor on Venmo, said, debating for absolute freedom isn't the best route. Am I disenfranchised because I can't shoot my gun in the air celebratorily because we weigh safety? Yeah, that's another good example. Like, all the rules take away rights from people. That's what rules are. Jack sent $4 to say, Iowa Golfer should read Brave New World by Huxley. Oh, I haven't read Huxley in such a long time. What a throwback. Maybe he should. But I can't remember Brave New World well enough to judge in this exact moment. Do I have any Buy Me a Coffees? I always forget to check those first thing in the morning. I think we do. Thank you, Mr. Fancy, for the $10 on Buy Me a Coffee. You said, I relate so heavily to the dog interrupt. Mine quickly learned to bark while I'm on calls. I can't believe it took her 6 months. It's become a real problem over the last week or so. But it's also made worse by there being a person in the room because we have the live producer here. While I'm on calls at work because I have to pet her. Best of luck in that battle. I am usually just petting her out of frame. That's what my left arm is always doing on the show. But she has begun demand barking attention from the producer and from me, and that's no good. Let's see. Where was I?
Who is your producer today, by the way?
It's Jessie today, but she's like outside with my dog. She's actually she can say hi. She's in the request queue. I don't know if she intends to be.
You're gonna end up with some Pavlov type stuff going on here pretty soon.
Was doing stuff with Noodle.
No, you didn't mean to join, Jessie?
No, I did a second ago. Repeat the last thing you said, Iowa. I'm here.
I said you're going to end up with some Pavlov type behavior out of your dog here pretty soon.
That's the issue. She learns very, very quickly that if we try to quiet her down, it gets her attention. So I've been dealing with that since she was born, though. She's always outsmarting her training. It's an arms race. I do have a few more YouTube super chats to read before I get back to the call. So, Katie sent $5 to say the historically disenfranchised will lose voting abilities. Women had to fight to vote. Also, churches still had services during C19 via social media. That's true, but I mean, I get what people are saying about not being able to get there in person. That's a restriction of their rights. Tim Davidson sent $5 to say, hey Oscar, check for my mega call bounced. Oh poo, they can see these. Love the show. Yeah, that saved it. I'm not comprehending that message. Maybe I need to read it again. Tavi sent $10 to say, not so fun fact, the government implemented mandates, quarantines, business school closures, and mandatory reporting even during scarlet fever. This isn't necessarily a new protocol. That's one thing I will mention to Iowa. It's like, we don't have a big pandemic very frequently. Like the last big one was in like 1917, like right at the conclusion of World War I. But the world does tend to buckle the fuck down and deal with it when there's a pandemic. It's not really new that we had a big lockdown. Two more really quick.
That was the one thing though too, like just real quick.
Yeah.
During the Spanish flu, they didn't even like shut things down. They just kept going on like it was normal. I mean, a lot more people unalived because of it, but
well, we've gotten better at medicine, though. We've gotten better at epidemiology, so we're able to make better decisions.
Like, because the one thing, too, I kind of find it I shouldn't say asinine, but, like, kind of dangerous to compare Spanish flu to COVID. So many more people died from Spanish flu than they did from COVID that it's not even close.
But I think we largely have modern medicine to thank for that. Imagine how it would have been if we had the technology from 100 years ago. If we didn't have medicines, if we didn't have ventilators, if we didn't have like good guidance about how to stay safe. A couple more YouTube super chats because we have Chronos sending $5 to say, W Iowa Golfer for continuing this debate. Be nicer this time, chat, me included. W Oscar, W Jessie, W Raven, because Raven is also working on timestamps today. And then Jazz sent $5 to say, designer babies is the term for it. People are willing to cut the cord for disabilities like blindness or deafness if caught early on. It's gross. Well, yeah, that's where I think it gets. That's like maybe an interesting last donation read to get us back into the conversation.
What was the last one again? I'm sorry.
Jazz is bringing up the idea of like designer babies is the term for it. People are willing to cut the cord for disabilities like blindness or deafness if caught early on. It's gross. And I don't know if I disagree. Yeah. I don't know if I agree with that donor because I think if I were a parent, which I'm not going to be. I've removed myself from the discussion by getting a vasectomy. But if I were to, if me and a partner were trying to have a baby and they were a month along and the doctor, used their fancy new technology from the year 2032 and like scanned the belly and was like, oh, this kid's going to be blind. They have congenital blindness. They're going to be born without eyeballs. Yeah. I would think, well, fuck, we're a month along. Like, maybe re-roll the dice on this one, right?
Yeah.
It's a dice roll every single time a sperm meets an egg, and sometimes you end up with some nasty conclusions, and it's uncomfortable, but I think there's a discussion to be had there about saving the world some difficulty by aborting those sorts of pregnancies early on. But I see the slippery slope argument, because at what point do we start aborting kids who aren't going to be tall enough because maybe the family's really into playing basketball? At what point do we start aborting kids because they're not going to have the right hair color or eye color? And that, I think, is really problematic, even if I don't actually see the suffering of the individual being aborted. But we got to talk about it. We got to figure this shit out.
This is the biggest issue that I have with the pro-choice people. I would arguably almost say that I was pro-choice, but the pro-choicers are so extreme about it. They'll say, whatever reason you want to do this, you can do it. If you want to just choose to have an AB, like I said, even in the future, like I said, they find out how to figure out if an unborn child is going to be gay or not. They'll be like, well, it's your choice. It's just a fetus, go ahead and abort it. Or it has the wrong hair color or the wrong eye color. Well, it's my choice, so I'm going to do it anyway. That's not okay.
Iowa, you're making broad generalizations here. You got to share your personal story last time, and I think it's time I share mine. People who have abortions don't want them. We are not begging for pro-choice because people are knocking down the doors to do it. The choice to have one is not an easy one. We do feel the weight of what we are doing. One of the laws in the state where I have experience with this is that you are required to watch an ultrasound of your child before it happens. You're required to sit there and talk to them. You are required to come to terms with what you are doing. I do not know anybody. I have existed in the most liberal, crazy, progressive craziness that you could ever dream of. I am the people that people worry about you becoming when you're a leftist, but
she's the producer of this show.
Not once in my life have I met somebody who left the clinic, not in tears, not in shambles, not ruined for the rest of their lives. This is not something pro-choicers are labeled as these people who are okay with it and smile and laugh when it's over. I sat and sobbed for days and days and days, coming to terms with what happened. This is not unusual. They give you counseling. They give you grief counseling. We are not pro-choice because we think it's okay. We are pro-choice because it matters, because of those instances where it is an absolute necessity. The reason that my friend and I went to go do this was because we realized that there was in no way. We budgeted it from every angle. We called financial counselors. We sat down with our school. We asked for donations. We did every single thing we could. And there was no way that we could bring the child into existence and not have it suffer when it got here. There was nothing we could do to give it a happy life because we were just in that stage of life where we were $30,000 in debt from school and working. Between school and work, we were at the hospital 17 hours a day. And they were asking us to bring a child into this world and take care of it and give it a good life. Because she made one mistake. Because her birth control lapsed for 1 week. She didn't know that it was going to happen. It was the worst day of my life, and it wasn't even for me. People act like pro-choice are okay with this, that eugenics is our goal. It's not. It was that this child could not be loved the way that we think a child deserves to be loved. And coming from a family where love was not something that was easy, and she was coming from a family where money was not something that could come easy, she thought there was no way she could give the life they deserved. We had experience on what it would look like if this baby came to be, and no part of it were ready to do that to a child, knowing that we were worse off than our parents were. So I know that you get emotional thinking, how could anybody do this? But I can't help but see the babies in the NICU that died of shaken baby because their mom was just too tired. The babies that starved because the parents couldn't quite afford the nutrition it needed, and no matter how many times you reach out and ask and people tell you there will be support, there isn't. It's not there the second the baby is born. They don't care about you anymore. You're on your own. So don't do me the favor and don't act like we don't care. Like we're all on the side of eugenics. We're not. Okay? This is coming from love, from just love.
Thank you, Jessie. I know that that's a lot to dump on your lap, Iowa, but I caught the moment that she was responding to as well, which is this general attitude about like, you know, oh, you want abortions for any reason or this or that. And it's not that it's for any reason. It's that we aren't the ones who decide what the reason is. We're not the experts. We're not the people involved. There are times where I think it's unacceptable. You can describe to me the sort of abortion that I would be in favor of outlawing. Those sorts of abortions are already outlawed. Like that's a non-issue. It's just not, nobody's trying to abort babies later. Nobody's getting pregnant repeatedly on purpose to have as many abortions as they want. It's a miserable, horrible, awful thing to go through. And there are these difficult conversations that we're having. We got, we're down the abortion rabbit hole because of this conversation of eugenics, which is like truly like difficult because, there are ways in which we probably shouldn't be entirely irresponsible about letting certain like grievously difficult congenital disorders spread. And we need to be able to have a practical, real conversation about that. But it all gets muddied if the attitude of the left, of the pro-life, or of the pro-choicers is portrayed as something that it shouldn't be. Nobody's excited about abortions. I think that's the thing that I mean, Jessie can correct me if I have it incorrectly, but like that's maybe the thing that set her off on this approach to the conversation, is that nobody's happy about abortions. It's just not. That's
exactly what I want to say. Yes,
it's a messy, ugly thing. That I think if everybody got what they wanted, nobody would get an abortion. Abortion's a solution to a situation that is bad. We would prefer there not be bad situations. That's why I talk about sex education for children. That can prevent pregnancies. Never mind aborting them. That's better. But we still have to contend with the fact that there are going to be such pregnancies. You still with us, Iowa?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening.
I appreciate that. I know you're a better listener than most of my callers, and I think that's one of the reasons I appreciate having you on. But yeah, I know that you have some personal experience that you've shared on my show, and I don't need to go back down it. But people watching this conversation right now didn't see the other half of it, which is that the other day Iowa had a moment as serious as the one that Jessie just had about a situation with your wife that puts you on the other side of it. You can get into that or not. I don't want to go too deep into that. But the point is, tensions are high everywhere. We are talking about tragedy and grief and people's bodies and people's family planning. Never mind how a person feels about abortion. Like a miscarriage can be disruptive of their life because they were pregnant at a time where it's like, oh, this is so perfect. We can have the baby before you have to move to that other state in 2 years for your job, and we can raise them with their grandparents here. But then you have the miscarriage, and that fucks that all up. And then the husband has to decide if he's going to still do that. Like this, it's disruptive. It's like difficult and horrible. And there's all this mess of stuff that goes into any one person's decision making about it. That's so heavy for them. And I think that what the pro-choicers are saying is that is their dilemma to face. Like, Instead of saying to that person, hey, sorry about all your feelings, but a bunch of old white assholes made some laws that said that you can't decide it this way, even though the only person who's going to be hurt by that is you and your immediate family and the people who you choose to include in your decision making. No, you got to include the lawman in your decision making on that right now. The pro-choicers are saying that the lawman's not good at making that decision for you. The doctor's pretty good at making that decision with you. You're pretty good at making that decision for yourself. you being the pregnant person in this case. It's dangerous to weaponize legislation to get rid of a couple of edge cases that you can imagine being really bad when you sweep up with them a whole bunch of normal cases where people are just trying to make good decisions for themselves. That's like, we can zoom out completely and say, never mind abortion for a second. If there's a difficult decision for a person to make that mostly affects themselves, we should be as hands-off as we should be in terms of legislating that. And if there are a lot of people who are trying to legislate that for some external reason, it's their religion that says that she shouldn't be doing that. Well, this is America. I don't care what your religion says. In America, it doesn't matter what your religion says about what I'm going to do with my body. I don't happen to be a woman, so this one doesn't affect me, but it fucking bothers me that people let their religions affect the decision making of other people. And because that's such a rampant problem, that is itself a problem. That is where I can say legislation should step in and protect that right, because the right of that person should be protected from the person whose God or whose book says that they should be making a different decision, because our legal system does not respect that person's God or that book. We have separation of church and state. What our legal system is supposed to exist to protect is the liberty of the person making the decision, so long as it doesn't affect the liberty of somebody else. And that's where some of the argument is, that maybe the baby has liberty that should be protected, the unborn child. I don't think it does. Legally, I don't think it should. That's what we sit and argue about. But fundamentally, it all just boils down to this thing about, like, imagine you dealing with some horrible dilemma in your life and the lawman knocking on the door and saying, you're not allowed to use these solutions, even if they're obviously the best ones for you. Because some guy somewhere, enough people believed in a God that didn't like it, believed in the words of a preacher who didn't like it. That's not how we do rights in this country. That's not how we should do rights anywhere. We should be reasonable about it.
Yeah, I don't find myself disagreeing with a lot of what you're saying at all, whatsoever.
Fundamentally, as I wrapped it up at the end there, that was an argument in favor of Roe v. Wade. That the state at a federal level should protect a person's right to not have that decision-making influenced by things that shouldn't influence it, namely other people's feelings about it and their religion, instead of protecting other people's liberty, which I think we've been around, we've been around the merry-go-round a number of times about how I just don't think it's sensible to grant personhood to to something that can't think yet, to something that can't suffer yet. Who is the person who's being violated? And I think it's clear that if you look at the pro-life world, if you look at the organizations that are pro-life, if you look at the people who go and protest at Planned Parenthood and say that it's an evil organization for performing abortions, those people aren't acting in a way that has anything to do with care for children. Those aren't people who donate very, very disproportionately to kids' charities. I've seen the gag of people going to those crowds of protesters and handing out adoption paperwork saying, let's get you signed up so you can catch some of these kids as they fall out of the vagina. And they don't want to fucking do it because they don't want to put their money where their mouth is and dedicate their life to a child who they don't want. But they want these other people to do it, not out of care for the woman, not out of care for the child, not out of care for the sanctity of her family or anything like that. It's for something completely external to them. It's about how they care about their religion. My pastor will be upset if I don't come tell you that you're supposed to live your life this way, and that's so fucking external. It'd be like somebody telling you what type of food you're supposed to eat because it's against their religion. Should people, should I have to listen to the religious observances of people who eat halal food or kosher food if they're Muslim or Jews? Like, that's fucking ridiculous. We know that. That doesn't weigh on it. Should I not eat meat because it's unethical to animals? That's a different conversation. But it's not the conversation that the Jews and the Muslims are having with me about kosher and halal food, and that's what's going on with abortion. They under the guise, it's as though somebody's trying to pretend to be a vegetarian to get you to eat kosher or halal food, but that's dishonest. That's completely intellectually dishonest, and that's what's going on with abortion. They have all these arguments, all this Philbro nonsense about ethics and about suffering, and I was just editing clips this morning of some ChatGPT neurologist telling me about suffering and neurological activity, and we had it happen with Dean on the show the other day, where it's like we go down that rabbit hole, and what we get to is that you're actually just disingenuously leveraging these arguments, not to accomplish anything that's stated in the arguments, but because on the back end you want abortion to end because of your religion. And I just don't give a shit. It's not. Never mind that I'm an atheist. The whole point is that nobody's religion matters. Like that's just not how we legislate. But that's fundamentally what it is. If it weren't for the fundamentalists, this wouldn't be an issue, and women would have freedom to choose to do with their bodies as they please.
Yeah, like I said, I 100% agree with you on what you just said there. But the one thing I do want to preface: I've never once brought my religion into this argument. And this,
I'm not accusing you of that.
Yeah, my argument is not coming from a religious standpoint whatsoever. It's coming from personal experience, suffering, and lived. And that's it.
And you brought up your lived experience, and I guess I just want to ask your permission. Can I give a really brief description of what you said the other day? It's such a counter to Jesse's. I want to clarify it to everybody watching, but I know it was emotionally difficult for you, and I want to be tactful. So feel free to tell me to shut up at any point. But Iowa Golfer's wife had some miscarriages that were unpleasant experiences for you and for your wife. You spoke from the heart about it in the way that Jessie just did. And I believe in your suffering. I believe in your wife's suffering. I believe in Jessie's suffering and the person in her example. I believe in all of that. So we're both here sitting at the same table crying about the same hurt, but the outcomes and the situations and the contexts and the will of the people who are involved in suffering are different. And the people who are, and the pro-lifers are saying that the law has to come in and say how it's handled, whereas on our side, of this issue, we're saying that the people involved should be able to handle it. Our approach to this is congruent with being caring for both you and your wife, Iowa, and for people like in Jessie's situation. We're inclusive of all of it, whereas the pro-lifers say that Iowa Golfer, your suffering matters, but Jessie's doesn't. Jessie's friends doesn't.
I would never claim that.
Right. I know you wouldn't. I know you well enough to know you don't work that way because you're not a piece of shit like that. But a lot of people are willing to listen to somebody like Jessie, who just spoke from the heart about a close experience she had with all this, with a friend of hers, with an associate of hers. People are willing to disregard that suffering because it's not in alignment with whatever at the back end is causing them to be pro-life. And I don't think that you're like that. I do think that you've been exposed to a lot of that. I do think that a lot of the language around this that you have, I do think that for a lot of the things that you and I still disagree about, Iowa, it is just super burned into you from your upbringing, and I don't blame you for that. But if you can sit here and listen to everything that I just said and tell me that you agree with every word of it, then something's missing. Because you have been pretty steadfast on saying that you're happy that Roe v. Wade was overturned, whereas Roe v. Wade provided the sort of protection that I was just describing to prevent people who have third-party unrelated reasons from meddling in people's lives because of those third-party reasons. And I'm especially bothered if those third-party reasons are religion, because we're supposed to have a protection against that in this country. That if your religion tells you that what I'm doing is bad, kick sand, because that's not how the government works in the United States.
Yep.
But so, I just want to value everybody's suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to bring up a few of my viewpoints on this. And I want to strongly preface this. I am not in any way trying to be disrespectful to Jessie's friend or Jessie's experience. I'm not trying to say, well, that wasn't a proper excuse. I'm trying to give you my point of view on this. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
I am not, you have to have a child no matter what. Never will be. Absolutely never will be. If it comes down to where it's the mother or the child, I'm picking my wife every time. Every single time, because we can try again. Mm-hmm. I've never been put in that situation. I don't know. I personally do not know anybody. And I've had this conversation with many, many people. Not saying it hasn't happened, not saying it can't happen. But I would choose my wife 100% of the time. In that situation, I would not consider that an abortion. If you save the wife's life and that child unalives from that, that's a miscarriage.
Ethically, now, I understand your difference in definitions there. The doctors would disagree about what exactly the definitions are, but I hear you.
Iowa, the problem exactly is right there, that your definition contradicts with the medical definition, which contradicts with the law.
So, here's what I'll say about this. Our medical paperwork from when we had our miscarriages, it didn't say miscarriage.
It said missed abortion.
It said spontaneous abortion, I believe is what the term was.
Yep.
That's not an abortion. But an abortion to to me, now this isn't what the medical experts say. I'm not against all abortions. An abortion to me is the purposeful ending of a pregnancy. What me and my wife did was not purposeful. We didn't mean to do that. We didn't plan on that to happen. I think you can understand me coming from that point.
So there's a couple. There's something to cover here that's important, which is that I talk about this a lot on the show because especially when we get down these narrow, like semi-semantic avenues, it gets really, really important to nail some of this stuff down. Because a lot of the time in conversations, I'm perfectly willing to talk to the caller and say, if you define the word this way, we can define it that way for the conversation, and we're going to move on with that, and that's going to be okay. Yeah. Because generally, I'm a descriptivist, and if people say that, like this comes up in the racism discussion, where it's like a lot of people say that white people can't be racist because there's no system of oppression. There's no like built-in historical reason that they're abusing for their race. And a lot of people define it that way, but a lot of people define it a different way, which is that if you just judge somebody based on the color of their skin, plain simple, that's what racism is. A white person, or I think I said it wrong a second ago. You can't be racist to a white person is what I meant to say. But, anyway, these are just definitional things that we can argue about forever, but we do just need to decide one of them to have a conversation. And that makes me a descriptivist, where I'm willing to say if people use the word in this way, that's good enough for it meaning that, and I'm just going to use it that way in the context of this conversation so we can all talk about it. But there are exceptions, and the exceptions are really, really important because we have something called technical language. And what technical language is, this is the way I look at it, this is kind of the way I preach about it, is that we use technical language in situations where being a descriptivist is irresponsible. Because sometimes it is, because you don't want the cardiologist who's working on your heart to have a conversation with your doctor and not be saying the same thing because they went to different medical schools. So we have standards. We have technical language where we are the other type of linguist. We say a prescriptivist. We're going to say what these words mean. They have to mean that because we're talking about people's lives. We're talking about something so important where these little differences of nuance can be such a technical issue. If we're building a rocket, we need to have technical language that the engineers use so that when they say words, they are exact and precise and the rocket gets built the way it's supposed to get built. And this is one of those topics where it is amazingly important that we stick to nothing but technical language. We have to be prescriptivists. So I hear what you're saying about your feelings about these different types of abortions, but to be clear about exactly what's being legislated on, what the doctors are saying, and make sure we're all on the same page. I am just going to assert as a prescriptivist that what happened to your wife was, technically speaking, according to the medical definitions, an abortion. It wasn't an induced abortion. Nobody performed an abortion on her, but her pregnancy was aborted. It was aborted by her own body instead of by a doctor or by a pill or something like that. So one of the things that I know you're capable of, because I have seen you do this in so many other contexts. I know this one's really touchy and really difficult, and that makes it hard, Iowa. But one of the things that I know you're capable of is putting your feelings aside enough about these exact words, because you're smart enough to know that using the right words is important, even if it feels a little bit wrong. And maybe that's the little emotional speed bump that you need to get over in order to have a more constructive conversation about this stuff. Because it matters not what we call any of these things. We could have the conversation in a different language and we'd be calling them all different things because we'd be using different words altogether. What matters is that we're all talking about the same thing. And in a conversation about abortion, because it has to do with healthcare and people's family planning and life and death and all this important stuff, we just have to nail it down. So abortion is a really broad term that covers a ton of things that the pro-lifers aren't even concerned with, like a miscarriage, for example. So that's my advice to you in these conversations, is to accept that the way that you feel these things should be categorized. I think your feelings make sense. I think that you're categorizing them in different ways that make sense. But the doctors do, as a matter of fact, categorize them all as abortions, just different types of abortions.
Right.
I know it's hard, though. I know you don't want to, because then you're tasked with saying something that feels wrong to say.
No, I'm willing to I'm willing to try that stuff out. It's not that I'm not a closed-minded asshole.
Well, right, and that's why I said it the way I did. I know you're not a closed-minded asshole, but I also know that there are certain sentences that are going to get said in this conversation, certain sentences that have already been said in this conversation. Because when you think about, protecting a woman's right for abortion, for example, you're not thinking about what happened to your wife with those miscarriages. You're not thinking about, you don't want those things tangled up with each other. As a matter of fact, they are by the terminology. So we can make the distinction of referring only to elective abortions when we're like, that's the category that the pro-lifers are really talking about. Most pro-lifers are like you and will say, well, of course, if the mother's life is in danger, prioritize that over the baby's. That makes perfect sense. That's what the medical directives are. That's what the people, the healthcare professionals are trained to do. So it muddies the conversation to be upset that the word abortion is used with all of them, but just the technical fact of the matter is it's elective abortion.
I will apologize for that. I should, and I know me and Jessie talked about it last time. I should use the term abortion access. And I think the term that I should be focusing on is elective abortion access.
Yeah.
Snaps for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. I know I've seen you on other panels. I talk all the time about how other hosts are so fucking bad at talking to you, Iowa, because they'll often think that they won't see it. They won't see the little technical thing you're getting stuck on. And sometimes I do, and I think this is one of those moments where, like, if you need to make the update to say that this conversation is about elective abortion, like, that's an update that you can make. But so many people would just tell you you're a misogynist and hang up on you for not getting there on your own quickly. And that's what I think is wrong with the fucking left in general right now. Never mind abortion for a second. I am so fucking sick of people who are on the right side of history acting like because it's obvious to them that makes them fucking better than somebody to whom it's not obvious. When history doesn't work that way, not everybody is lucky enough to have an upbringing that makes them level-headed about every piece of subject matter. I didn't. It's not like I was born this sensible. It's been hard work, listening to people smarter than me for my entire life to develop a worldview that I think is a little more bulletproof to these sorts of concerns. And I think people are fucking unwelcoming of people like yourself who are clearly working hard to do that work for yourself, which is why I spend half the fucking airtime that you're on my show defending you and just telling everybody, like, Iowa Golfer is what we want of every misguided person in America. We want open ears and curiosity and a connection with, I know that you trust me to a degree, Iowa. I know that part of the way that I communicate with you, I'm leveraging the fact that I don't think you think I'm going to lie to you.
No. Oskar, I would call you a very good friend of mine. I've never met you before, but I would call you a very good friend.
I'm going to buy you that fucking beer, dude.
We're going to get together. I have my second round of qualifying tonight. I didn't shoot very good, so I don't know if I'm going to be in Mankato or not, but I have another round tonight, so I'll know by the end of the night if I get to play in Mankato or not, but it's not looking likely. I didn't play very well. But going back, I do want to mention something really quick, if you would allow it.
Of course.
The one thing that I take big issue with, and I'm not calling her out as like being disingenuous or anything like that, but there was a comment made earlier. Bonnie made a comment saying, do you want kids being born and then abused or neglected? I would never say that whatsoever. I would never want a child to be neglected or abused. What I will say is that if I know that a child will be abused or neglected, I think that's a horrible, horrible thing. I also don't believe that just because a child is abused or neglected, they don't deserve life.
It really comes down to me and Oskar's shared perspective on suffering.
Yeah. I mean, I can take it or you can, Jessie, but really what it is that if we're going to look at something like, let's take teen pregnancy, right? Like just people who are just irresponsible, just shouldn't have had a kid, but did, as opposed to like at the wrong time or whatever other thing. Just these really extreme cases of like, you're fucking in high school. Like maybe like you being pregnant is going to be disruptive of your life. And then having a kid, then you're would you drop out of school? Do you get a GED? Like how do you have the grandparents take care of it? Like, how do you handle this? When what you care about is suffering more than everything else, suddenly it doesn't actually matter Like whether the kid gets born, it doesn't matter. Like none of these specific details matter. We can just weigh outcomes by suffering. And if one of the outcomes has no suffering for the child because the child never develops the ability to suffer, I can just give them a 0 on the scorecard of suffering, go cool, irrelevant, and move on to everything else, like what the outcomes are like for this teen who's pregnant. But I think what me and Jessie bring up is that I accuse a lot of pro-lifers of ignoring the other possibility, which is that instead of getting a 0 for suffering because the baby never developed the capacity to suffer, we then have a person who suffers immensely because they grow up in a childhood where they're not provided for well. Perhaps their parents are absent. Perhaps they don't have the square footage in the home to raise another child and they can't afford to move. Like there's all these things that make a childhood difficult for a person. And then the ethical difficulty that people have, this is the thing that people really struggle with. The people who wouldn't throw the switch on the trolley problem because they don't want to touch it. They don't want to influence the problem, is that they think that we're looking at that child suffering and saying that they shouldn't be here, when of course if a child's already here we should feed them. What I'm saying is that if we have the foresight to prevent that suffering from ever happening, to me, I can accept that even though it's emotionally hairy, there's no intellectually defensible difference between that and deciding to not have sex in the first place. Both of them prevented that child from suffering. Both of them prevented that child from existing. To me, there's no ethical difference whether the prevention happens before the sex and you decide not to have sex, or you wear a condom, or you're on birth control, or if all of those things fail, we can do it a little bit later. We can abort a pregnancy in the first trimester before the ethical concern around protecting this child arises. What we all disagree about, me and the pro-lifers, is where that ethical concern arises. I don't think anything ethically interesting happens at the moment of conception. It's 2 cells that become one. Where's the suffering?
Yeah. See, that's where me and you, I think you'll be kind of shocked to understand that I tend to agree with you on this. If you're inside the first trimester, if you're inside the first trimester, I don't believe there's going to be any suffering in an AB besides the mother.
Right.
There's always going to be suffering with that. But it just comes back to the same thing. We never know what hindsight is. Hindsight's always 20/20. We can't. Man, it's just because it's just like this. When I married my wife, me and my wife have been married for 6 years now. 6 or 7. Oh boy, I'm gonna get in trouble. 6 or 7. We were madly in love. And today, we're still madly in love. But is there an odd chance that we could end up, resenting each other down the road and growing apart and divorcing? Absolutely. There's a chance of that. But that doesn't mean that, because that's a chance, I'm going to divorce her in the first year or we're not going to get married. Oh, man, that one lady left. She had her hand up in the box.
Yeah. Sorry, I that was a join from my mods. She's probably still watching, and I see that Ari's in the chat. She can join if she wants. Lenzie's still here, but yeah, sorry. At the end of your point,
I might red bar here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm landed. I might red bar though, but I'm still.
Oh yeah. His service isn't always fantastic. I will bring Lenzie back up. I didn't get her introduction just because we were deep down the weeds. So if Iowa's service is bad, she can say
I live
hello.
in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Iowa, so I don't get very good service half the places I go. But I am listening.
Yeah, Lenzie, did you have something to add?
Yes, I did. I'm one of the mothers that did have abortion. I had 2 abortions, but they were, and technically in medical, when I had my children, medically, C-sections are abortions, and for me,
I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I'm going to preface this, and then I'll let you take off. No pro-lifer considers a C-section an abortion. It's the end of a pregnancy. But we do not consider that abortion. I think I want you to understand.
Without that healthcare, because I am one of 1% of women that cannot give birth naturally. If I did not have that C-section, me or my first child that I had would not be alive. I was in 24 hours of labor, and I could not push him out. They literally had to push him back into my cervix and have me do an emergency C-section. If I did not have that health care, I would not be here taking care of my children. It is not, C-sections are considered abortions in some way. It is terminating that pregnancy to keep that child alive and the mother. I am only one of 1% of women that cannot give birth naturally. And so how can you say that C-sections are not abortions? Because they are.
Well, and
Abortion is terminating a pregnancy. That's it.
Well, and there's
nothing more to it.
This is what I tried to get to earlier with Iowa, is that it does a disservice to all of us handling the emotionally weighty components of this if we allow the definitions to hold more emotional weight than they should, because the reasons the definitions are the way they are is that the doctors can do their work effectively. And sometimes that means that even if the definitions seem a little bit silly, it's just because they're technically consistent, because what an abortion is to a doctor is the termination of a pregnancy.
I want to hop in here really quick if I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I just looked this up. According to the Cleveland Clinic, a C-section is not an abortion.
But on my
medically, it's not an abortion.
Yes, it is, because on my medical records, a C-section is an AB procedure. It is terminating that pregnancy.
Oscar, you can go ahead and fact check me on that one if you want.
I think my Discord's working on it for me, so I'm watching on the screen. But what else? Okay, here, I'll say this. I know I'm kind of interrupting.
Yeah,
but
I'm pretty sure IowaGolfer's right.
So we're getting a crowded panel, and if IowaGolfer's right, I think the biggest point here is that it actually doesn't matter. Like, that was fundamentally my point. Whether the doctors think it is or isn't, I have heard that the doctors consider a C-section to be an abortion. What I'm saying is that whether or not the doctors consider a C-section to be an abortion is just not ethically important. And we need to stop getting hung up on that.
The only thing here, Oscar, is now we're starting to get into a sticky subject, because you just said it should be between. You got to be careful of that, because you just said it should be between medical professionals and what they think and the person. Now you're just saying, well, now we can't really consider what the medical professionals are thinking about ethically.
I'm saying that whether, to answer to that directly, Iowa, what I'm saying is that whether or not the doctors call a C-section an abortion, I will leave to the doctors. It will not change my thinking about C-sections, is my point. Whether or not it's an abortion is irrespective of whether or not it is an ethical procedure or whatever, which I think we all recognize. C-sections are obviously important in a lot of cases. My point is that it's not that I disregard what the doctors are saying. I regard it greatly. They have technical reasons for using those terms in those ways. I'm saying it doesn't have to influence the way that I feel about it. And what I see happening a lot in this conversation is caring about whether or not something technically counts as this or that, when for me, the only thing I really care about is the presence of suffering. And we can get down, go down those rabbit holes, because that matters. That gets to what all of my ethics are founded on. But I just advise people to recognize that even if they feel icky about the way a definition is used, if the doctors use it that way, that's good enough for me, and it doesn't need to influence my ethical considerations.
So the one thing, okay, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm going to land with it, and then you guys can take off however you want to.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know one pro-lifer, not one, that would call a cesarean section that results in a birth an abortion. I've never heard one pro-lifer, even extreme pro-lifers that have zero exceptions. I've never heard any of them say, that's an abortion, you're a horrible person. We would absolutely protect cesarean sections. There's never been a law against cesarean sections, as far as I can tell. Ever. Cesarean sections that result in a birth, and abortions that terminate a live pregnancy are two completely different things.
Well, and we could have avoided this whole
That's not true.
this whole other section of the conversation by sticking with what we came to earlier, which is focusing the conversation on elective abortions. Because I think we all recognize that medically necessary C-sections should not be called elective abortions, nor should these situations where an abortion is performed to save the life of the mother in case of like ectopic pregnancies or like a trauma, like a car accident or a gunshot wound or something, like whatever crazy situation might result in an abortion that's obviously necessary to the doctor. But what we're so concerned about is that even in those cases, like drawing lines around abortion and saying this is bad, we're going to legislate against this, we're going to fail to protect the right for this at the federal level by overturning Roe v. Wade and not codifying its content into the federal legislation. Like doing that makes it so that these rules that maybe just have to be technical and specific in a way that seems a little bit silly on certain case-by-case examples. Now you have a situation where a doctor is up against the law instead of those definitions, and the law says you can't perform this abortion or you go to prison for murder, and now that doctor is left in a situation where, from his perspective, his much more educated perspective, both in terms of his medical training but also in terms of his boots on the ground, being the doctor in the room, looking at the patient, dealing with the patient, examining the patient. He's not allowed to leverage that expertise to make a nuanced decision about what should happen in that moment. Creating a law that protects the life of the child disproportionately makes it so that he's going to have to default to save the life of the child in situations where it doesn't make sense to. That's the concern that so many people have around this type of discussion around it. At the end of the day, medical terminology is fucking messy. We should trust doctors with these sorts of decisions, especially when there's not much time to make those sorts of decisions.
100%. I think doctors should be the ones that should be trusted in this, and between women and their doctors and their families should be the one to make the medical decisions. No politician should tell somebody what they should and shouldn't do with their bodies.
So can I also say one
to be able
thing
to
as
tell
well?
a woman what the fuck she should do with her body, because we are the ones that carry the baby for 9 months. 9 months. Do you know what we go through during those 9 months? Do you actually know what we go through?
Yes,
The pain and the horror and the pulling of emotions. It doesn't matter. Your opinion on women's bodies is not accepted because we are the ones at the end of the day carrying those children and giving birth to those children. The ones that you help create. We are the ones giving birth. We do want our children. Most women do want children. But some of them can't even give birth naturally, or some of them can't even get pregnant. Do you understand the implications that these laws are having on women? 2 women have been unalived due to this abortion ban. Critically, they wanted their children. They wanted to have those babies. But those babies could not live in the womb long enough because they were not able to do that. And they lost their children, but they also lost their lives because these abortion bans have killed them. They were unalived. Women in Texas have been both unalived for these reasons. Because you men think you have a right to tell somebody what to do with their body. I understand you have an opinion. I understand you want your children. And men do have a right to say something when it comes to that. But to say something like that, to not have a woman's voice be heard, it's disgusting. I think it's disgusting for men to even be in a woman's body. My husband is right next to me. He doesn't like the abortion. I didn't want to have, my C-sections. I wanted to have a natural birth. I wanted my pregnancy to go the way it was supposed to go. But no pregnancy, no birth goes the way it's supposed to go because we go through so much pain and so much emotional trauma with our bodies. It's not like we asked for this. And then what's even worse?
I have to jump in because I know, like, obviously I'm with you on every word of that. But I do have to do something that I do very often and say that I think Iowa gets what you're saying. I don't think that's his issue.
I do believe, coming in as voice of God now because I'm back in the studio. I do believe, Lenzie, that you are just a few steps behind this conversation. We have been at this place before. IowaGolfer has proven to be very on our side with this sort of things. Iowa, I do encourage you to find the sources. I'm hoping the Discord can pull us. We're trying to get you in the Discord, but I'm hoping the Discord can pull those sources of those specific edge cases in which we saw women actually unalive due to inaccess to abortion care. It's that nuance of that law means specifically, missed abortion versus elective. And so there has just been a few edge cases where women have lost their lives because of these bans. This is what Lenzie is getting so heated about because she feels close to it. And I do agree that you are on our side, that this is not something that you want by any means. Lenzie, Oskar would never, ever silence a woman in her take, but you are kind of missing some context here. So I am going to boot you because I believe you are talking without context at this point in time. And I love you. Your story is valid, but we're kind of past that in the conversation.
Hi.
Hi, Ari.
Hey, Oskar. Also, you should add me back on Discord. Side note there.
Yes, there's lots of people I should add back.
You're bad.
Continue pestering me.
No, you're good. I'm great at that. I'm the #1 call out person in friendly ways, not in a mean way. Yeah. So I wanted to push back on that, and also for Jessie is your producer. Mm-hmm. Okay, I wanted to make sure I remembered her name correctly. ProPublica is really great at keeping track of what she was calling the edge cases of the women that have either unalived or lost access to or lost their fertility as a result of abortion bans across the country. So ProPublica, JAMA Health, both of them are really great at keeping track of those if y'all want to use them as your primary source. And they do well on citing their sources and how it all came. But the part that troubled me, and I want to understand exactly what you consider to be an elective abortion, Iowa, and then how do you legislate a quote elective abortion?
Still with us, Iowa? He's not always quick to unmute. He's a good listener, though.
Yeah, no, I believe I've talked to him before, but I stopped taking TikTok guests a while ago. So last time I talked to him would have been probably a year and a half ago.
I didn't even know him back then. I don't know what he was like a year and a half ago. I've been working on him for 5 months, and he's changed a lot in that time. Iowa, are you still with us? He's not muted. It could be service. His service.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. You're back. There you are. Did you hear the lineup? Did you hear all that?
I did. Yeah.
Ooh, we're losing you here.
Absolutely. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here.
Okay. Well.
As long as your data works, just curious on. I'll restate it for you. What would you how do you define an elective abortion, and then how do you legislate that?
Oh, he dropped. I don't think that was a run. I think that was probably service.
Yeah, that was definitely his.
I think
I'm not that scary anymore.
Yeah, well, and I end up speaking for Iowa a lot just because I've spoken to him so much. I kind of know where he is on a lot of this stuff, and abortion is one of these things where it's like the last hill he's trying to die on, and I think we're getting to a point where he's running out of ways to. I think he's running out of ways to square the fact that he actually agrees with us. to be completely straightforward, I think it was before you joined earlier, but I gave this big long explanation where he said, "Yeah, I agree with all of that," and I was like, "Right, that's my explanation for why it's bad that Roe v. Wade was overturned." But he's still upset that he's still happy that Roe v. Wade was overturned. I think he's getting there, and I think the conversation will continue. Nice to finally meet you by voice, by the way, Ari. I don't think we've actually spoken before.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't. And then, yeah, it's nice to actually talk, like verbally talk, have a back and forth dialogue. That's what it would be considered a dialogue. And I guess I'll have to tune in tomorrow. I'm sure he'll join back tomorrow or maybe next week. Who knows? But I'll just kind of give my 2 cents. And if y'all can hear jets, I'm sorry. I live and work near an Air Force base, so they fly everywhere. Here's my issue with elective, right? You can start defining it, right? So somebody that obtains an abortion because they don't have the financial means to take care of it, and then you legislate that saying that they're required then to carry it to term and give it up for adoption afterwards. Our adoption system is no better. We haven't done anything at the federal level to really update or change our adoption system. And until we do that, like these are things that would have to go hand in hand. But you're still going to have to find a way to compensate the woman to a degree, right, for the changes that her body inevitably goes through as a result of carrying a full-month pregnancy, right, full-term pregnancy. And so, like, how do you account for the fact that you guys can talk to women on this app all day, any day, where they have long-term diabetes because their gestational diabetes didn't end at the end of the pregnancy. You have women that have sciatic nerve problems because of how the fetus was sitting inside the womb, and it was just sat wrong and then ended up getting pinched. So there's so many like medical issues that can come as a result of having a pregnancy that we're not considering that. So sure, you want to say because somebody can't afford it, they they need to somehow carry it to term and then put it up for adoption. That's not a viable option. That's just an alternative to parenting, not the alternative to pregnancy. So that's why, I want to dig into what he means by elective, and then how do you prove that if you have some kind of legislation outlawing these elective procedures?
Yeah, and I mean, without him here, I'm sure the conversation will finish another time. But whether it's abortion or not, the thing that tends to stand out to Iowa is he'll look at something really, really unpleasant, like one of these really scary edge cases, and that will weigh so heavily against this background of medical care and good medical decision making, and it's kind of hard for him to put his emotions aside on certain things. But without him here to respond to what you said broadly, I do really thank you for the input.
Ooh, so what I'll do, and I'll challenge your chat to do this, right? I do check my messages and I do check my message requests. So, and I'll make sure to make a mental note for this myself, as long as it's not on Saturday or Sunday. If Iowa is back up here and he starts talking about abortion, share me Oskar's live and just say Iowa's here. I will check my message requests. I will come here and I'll request, and then I can ask him my question, because I'm sure that some people in the chat definitely want to hear his response in explaining how you legislate it.
Yeah. Please do pester Ari if we have her permission. That'll be good.
Absolutely. Ari, I have a note here in my producer chair to reach back out to you, because I do think that's the nuance we've reached at this point in time, just from where we left off in our last conversation and today. We've kind of reached the point where Iowa's opinion, the only thing I think we have left to discuss with him is where that line of elective is drawn. So really would appreciate to have your input in the future, and I think we're good to kick you for the algorithm, and we'll see you next time this comes up.
Yep.
Cool.
Sounds bueno. Also, I'm in the server, so y'all can at me or message me there too.
Awesome. It was super nice to meet you, Ari. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeet.
Yeet. I love it. All right. We, it's always difficult when we have such a meaningful conversation like that and a bunch of donations pile up, because I don't want to interrupt the panel. So we are going to race through them before we move on to something else. And I will highlight this thing on the screen for my producer to consider. It might be what's about to happen next.
I see it.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in just a second. But thank you, Joseph, for Noodle Barks. I can do anything. LOL. Yeah, my dog has figured out that barking during the show gets her attention, so we're dealing with that this week. I need a dog sitter. Roe v. Wade made a mistake arguing for privacy, says Marcella for $5 on Cash App. I appreciate that very much. And over on Venmo, we got some pretty hefty donations as well, because Spencer sent $50 to say, please split this between you and Jessie. All the love in the world to you, and thank you. Thank you, Spencer. We both appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I should probably be responding. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. W. Jessie for sitting in the producer chair today and dealing with my dang dog. Jack sent another $3 to say humanism is the future, whereas religion will keep us in the past. As a humanist, you should share some of the ideology so some people like IowaGolfer can understand why reducing human suffering is important. I am fundamentally a humanist, like in terms of my ethical structure. That is what it all comes down to. I try to just talk to people about what I think is good, though. You know, like we don't need all these labels. A lot of people are like, I don't want to convert people to humanists. I just want to talk to them about ethics and make them into more humanists, whether they've ever heard that term before or not. Doesn't really matter.
There we go.
Of course. Noodle, did you send a donation to be able to get this much airtime? I don't think so. Chris sent $25 on Venmo to say if Collar's wife didn't pass the fetus on her own, she would have had to have an abortion if her state allowed. Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of situation that I think IowaGolfer is missing, is that there are going to be situations where, like, technically on the books it's an abortion, but the doctors are just trying to help you, and that sort of thing gets thrown out by making these sorts of laws. Jay sent $5 on Buy Me a Coffee to say, hey, Oskar, longtime listener and first-time donor here, eugenics and care. Ooh, long message. Really quick. Eugenics and care for those with disabilities is very, very hotly debated among my friends in biology ethics. As able-bodied people, we assume people with birth defects, amputations, neurological disabilities, etc. would not want to live. I wouldn't assume that personally. That's not the way I think about it. Since we believe we would not want to live in this situation, the same applies for people after the life-altering accident. This is not to say that we should bring people into the world that we know we cannot support, nor is it to say that people with disabilities do not suffer at all. I'm very sorry about the dog barking, everybody. It is just to say that this is an extremely complicated topic for able-bodied people to suffer through, even though the experts are conflicted on it. If you could please send this money to Jessie for their valuable insight, I would appreciate it. Jessie's in the room, so she keeps track of that sort of stuff, though she's a little busy right now, so I'll flag that one. And Lucky Phil sent $20 on Buy Me a Coffee to say W IowaGolfer, W Jessie, W Chat for being nice, and fine W Oskar, I guess. Jessie, buy yourself a beverage of your choice on Oskar's dime. As she will. Huh? Thank you, Jessie. Okay. Is that everybody? No, that is not everybody. No, I didn't read the Bible. So many come in when we have a deep, dark conversation like that. I just need to make sure I get everybody before we proceed on to other things. Because, yeah, a bigger one came in. We had Kronos send $50 to say, W. Jessie, if I can read it, W. Jessie for telling her side as someone in the medical field. Sorry, my computer is not letting me click this for some reason. We're having all sorts of issues today on the Oskar Quentin Show. W. Jessie for telling her side as someone in the medical field. We love you, Jessie. Same with Raven and her stories, and Oskar's with his. You are all amazing. Jessie, why do we make each other cry all the time? Thank you, Jessie, for that contribution earlier. I appreciated that.
Yeah, Kronos, canonically now in the Oskar Quentin universe, my bestie. Thank you so much, Kronos. I feel so heard, especially by my YouTube chat people. And I just really felt like I could share my story here today. So specifically, thank you to everyone who's made me feel so safe in what is a very public platform. You all rock.
W. Jessie. USBC sent $10 on YouTube Super Chat to say, in the same way doctors and engineers define words to communicate, lawmakers can create unintended consequences or be nefarious by using the colloquial meaning and enforcing the technical. And for $2, Kronos said, how does Raven do these timestamps so difficult? Yeah, it's a fucking mess doing the timestamps. W. Raven, she's been doing a great job on that. We are going to bring an account called Jared Fogel, but I think I know who this is, into the call. But I am going to do the standard things as we move on to our next potential debate. This might be a strange one. I don't actually know what this call is going to be like. But for TikTok TOS, you do still need to start by saying who's on the call and how old you are. Ooh, you're very muffled. Do you have a Bluetooth device connected? Are you hearing it?
Yeah, caller, you are almost completely inaudible.
Yeah, I'm not making out a single word. I'm hearing like a little bit of muffle.
Kick and re-request?
Yeah, kick and re-request I think is going to be things. So I'm just going to kick you and hop back in the queue. There's a link tree in the bio if you want to. If you really enjoy listening to my dog bark all day, you can go to the link tree in my bio and support the show by following me for free on all the other platforms, or donate through all the platforms that I just read out. Venmo, Catch Up, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. Buy Me a Coffee's international. It took me forever to start saying that because it took me forever for somebody to start pointing it out. Let's see. Jared Fogel's back in the queue. Is it going to work this time? Hello. Do we have audio this time?
We're rolling. We got through the donations.
I can hear very, very, very quiet. Oh, there we go. That's louder. Can you speak? I'm hearing background noise that's kind of noisy, and your voice not. The reason I'm sticking on this caller longer is because this is, I think, a person who I know in real life. So I am just going to... Yeah, I can see you, but I cannot hear you. Yeah, there's no sound whatsoever. It's not passing. Yeah, we might have to do it another day. You might have to get that audio send figured out. Sorry. I am interested in seeing how that's going to go, because that's a person who I know in real life who wanted to settle some things on air, and I don't even really know what, because I've kind of stayed out of it. But for now, we are going to move on to J Lux. I don't know. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, and we'll see if we get the show back on the road, because it's been a little wonky today. Nope, I don't think they meant to join. When they take this long to join, I've learned it means they are probably teacupped. And then we have Caitlin in the queue. The queue is full. Hello. How old are you?
Hi, I'm 30, and I just really wanted to throw in just some really quick 2 cents on the abortion. I am an IVF mom, and with the eugenics conversation, one of the things that I had to do in order to do my IVF was have genetic testing. And in order to even have the donor sperm approved for me, I had to compare my genetic carrier things against his. So that's an interesting conversation within the IVF community. And I think it's something that I think it's worthwhile to have everyone think about. That's all my 2 cents.
Yeah. And like I said, like, eugenics is such a scary term because so many things that are eugenics are like obviously horrible. But there are also some things that are like reasonably common sense that also meet my definition of eugenics. So I appreciate the insight. We got Bobby on the left. Might be a short call because I am looking for some more oppositions for the last 30 minutes of the day. So it isn't just an abortion episode. But we'll see if he's actually Bobby on the right. Hello, how old are you?
Hello, it's left. I'm 35.
10 seconds to say your piece before I move on.
Absolutely. Just a couple things about Iowa Golfer. In the last couple of years, the Iowa legislature has denied SNAP benefits for kids. In the last couple of years, the Iowa legislature has defrauded and taken all of the money from public education and siphoned it off into private education. And just in the last couple of years, the Iowa legislature, who was one of the first to add gender identity as a classification within the Civil Rights Code, removed it. So we're also the first state in the country to remove gender identity as a protected identity. So anyway, a couple things I would want to push Iowa Golfer on. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks for your time. Phoenix Mom creates creative design. Might be just getting full of friendlies today. I don't know. Ooh, if they meant to connect. Gonna hover that disconnect. Yeah, looks like they didn't mean to connect. We got Danny Jefferson. Maybe this will be a debate. Hello, how old are you?
30.
30. Do you support Trump?
I do.
Why is that?
Well, I'm part of the LGBTQ plus community, and contrary to popular belief, he does support us as a community.
I'm going to ask you, I think that's the most unserious thing I've heard on my show in a long time, and your account doesn't have ability to turn the camera on. Did you make this troll account just to come say this fucking nonsense? You're following 0 people and you have 32 followers. What's the deal?
No, I came from YouTube. I just don't only use TikTok. How do I turn my camera on?
It doesn't let you because your account's not... benefit of the doubt on you being a troll because it won't let you turn your camera on. You think that Donald Trump supports you? This is nonsense.
Yes, I do, actually.
Come on.
I really do.
You really do.
Can I say why?
Sure.
Because he actually said that he actually supports us. If you actually look at the video, if you pull the video from the Oval Office meeting a little bit a while ago,
he filed he signs executive orders trying to take away Second Amendment rights from trans people. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Chat's saying that you were just trolling on Parker's stream.
Who's Parker? I came from YouTube.
Nah, dude. I don't believe it. Just gonna use my fucking troll detector on that one. L noodle today, my goodness. IowaGolfer's back. That's it. It was just friendlies and trolls in the queue. So I don't know. What do you think, Jessie? Are we doing this? Are we going to continue? Is this an abortion episode?
I mean, chat was pretty wanting to move on. That's what I'm seeing in chat. Did we connect with Jared? I think Raven was working on that.
They couldn't get their audio sorted. They were camera up, and it was like them in the studio, but they couldn't.
Was it who we thought it was?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was who we thought it was. Yeah, Iowa people are asking for us to move on for today, so I'm going to say no. But I know you get it. Oh yeah, and the sign got bumped by my cat. That's why we can't see it very well on TikTok. So I'll take a moment to give another cheeky ad read, even though the ad reads have been kind of all over the place today, because you can go to the link tree in my bio and find the Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, and Patreon. Those are the ways to support the show, and I really appreciate it that I get to do this full time. It's a big deal for me. Big deal for Jessie. Big deal for Raven.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I wanted to make a difference, and I found I'm better at yapping than I am at chasing ICE agents around. So that's what we've been cooking up here on the Oskar Quentin show. But maybe I can just talk to the chat, because it is 11:30. Ooh, Jessie.
Yeah.
Do we just burn it? We could end this one a half hour early, because we have shit to do today. Do you want to talk about what's happening this evening?
Yeah. Oh shoot, I don't have the exact information pulled up. Give a brief description while I find it.
You're my producer. Which one was the evening one that we didn't? You need to do it. I don't want to misspeak about my own plans.
I am working so hard to. I'm sorry, guys. I'm usually
no. I can say that today's been chaos. We've had the dog interrupting us, and then I've been like not managing the chats and on the screen and stuff well, because you've been busy dealing with my dog. Like this is one of those shows where I get to appreciate how well things normally go, because this has kind of been a disaster today. The subject matter was kind of interesting. Like the chat was good. Like technically though, we've had a miserable time running the fucking show today. But that's why I hired a producer, is because and an editor, so I can manage all this stuff. So yeah, if you think we're doing a good job, it's because maybe it'll poke through on the days like today where we're not doing as good a job running the show. We do have somebody in the queue. Maybe that'll kill a little time. Are you ready?
Go. Nope. Get him. Take him.
We're gonna talk to Ash Netanyahu, and we're gonna see if this is a serious call. How old are you?
35.
You support Trump?
Yes.
Why is that?
I wanted a strong supporter for Israel.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So just, you think that the U.S. president should, like, your primary reason for supporting the U.S. president is because they support Israel?
That was my primary reason, yep.
Yeah, so, like, you don't care about the safety and success of Americans. You don't care about the Constitution. You don't care about American values. You don't care about any of that. You just support Israel. So you're happy that America has elected a person who's going to support your interests instead of ours, right?
No, actually, that's a false pretense. So I support America supporting Israel because I think that what Israel is doing in the long run is going to protect the American values that you so enjoy by eliminating T groups in the Middle East that are.
I don't think you understand my values. I don't think that that's right at all. I think that the human cost of allowing Israel to do that sort of thing in our interest is really, really, really bad, and I think that you're a piece of shit for not considering that.
That's okay. I think
it's not okay. It's not okay at all, dude. Like
it's okay. You think I'm a piece of shit. That's what I'm saying. It's because I think you're one too.
Right.
It's fine. So that's irrelevant. Let's stick to actual debate talking points.
Is it a parody account? Is that what it says on there? Parody account of the biggest hypocrite on this app. Get the fuck off my show. Stop wasting my time with your Zionist fucking bullshit. The fact that you think it's funny that you can leverage the fact that people like me are upset about children dying to come up here and stir some fucking shit means that you're the fucking piece of shit, and everybody watching this knows it. I fucking hate that there exist trolls who will use the suffering of marginalized groups to get fucking airtime. And now that I have airtime that people value, it makes me a target for it. Dreadful. Did you get that information, Jessie?
I did. Is it safe to mention like location since it's a rally or no?
On this short notice, please don't come assassinate me. Let's do it.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, our Minneapolis people. We will be protesting this evening, and we encourage you to protest with us. A rally against the killer ICE agents. We demand justice for our martyrs. Thursday, July 16th, that is today, 5:30 p.m. at Lake Street and Nicollet. We will be marching, we will be rallying against the 4 now lives that have been lost within like the last 8 days to ICE agents. Minneapolis is no longer the center of Metro Surge. We are no longer the greatest threat to the ICE regime at this point in time. But we stand with everyone who is being affected as we were. Be there.
Be there. Yeah. I was sitting here momentarily unsure because we had the drones thing and we had this one, and I was fucking hoping it was this one. I was almost going to say the wrong thing. Fucking yeah, I'll be there. That's why we let that get in the way of a gig for me tonight. I think we end the show there. This has been a technical nightmare of a show. I think we call this an abortion episode and wrap it. What do you think?
I agree.
Call this an abortion episode and wrap it. Oh my God. Pun not intended. That was the Oskar Quentin Show. Thanks everybody for your fucking support. It truly is incredible.